It's kind of been a really up and down season for them with the losses they've had, but some really resounding wins. So we'll see what happens.
4 rosters today for both teams. Interestingly enough, it's the Luna first pick from the side of PPL on the missile propulsion specialized training start. It'll be Bloom picking that Luna pick for the goalie slot with the missile propulsion here. Meanwhile, Fudgy is in the goalie slot. Gumi on the rune here for Demons Rock.
Yeah, I think this works well for both goalies, and especially Fudgy, who really likes to go the momentum boots on melee goalies, which is not traditionally what you see, but especially with the nerfs that he had, I think Atlas starting with this missile prop is going to make it so much easier for those primaries to have value, to really feel like they're doing something. So a great start for Fudgy to try kind of play how he wants to, pushing up, helping Gumi in that midfield all the time. And that's what they're trying to get to early on, but so far it's just a lot of defense, the core kind of getting stalled in the middle, nobody getting that second barrier yet, and Fudgy taking a lot of damage.
A lot of damage here. They can't find the KO just yet, as Fudgy did have an evade. There's another evade as well. Now Fiery chucked down pretty low thanks to the projection of Fudgy, in addition to a little bit else. Snake is there on the Kazan, trying to bully Fiery away, and will be successful in doing so with top spin to find the KO. Power play opportunity. Nice energy burst. Core flip there. Finds the last barrier. Banish comes through. Huge here as Gumi looks to turn the tides of battle, but Average Alex finds revenge for his teammates. And now it's a power play for PPL. Looking the other direction. Fiery trying to collapse in on this, but Fudgy's still got that expanse. With that cooldown burn, maybe there's an opportunity here, but now Snake back online. Just waiting on that connection from Gumi. Incredible dribbling play here as the Molten Bolt does not connect. And Gumi still has the energy burst. Might look to be using on the offensive side rather soon. Bloom dives in. Also has his. So should be careful. That one there as well. Here's a banish. Pull in from Snake. Not quite. Still looking for the first goal of the game as both these teams still feeling each other out at the moment. A couple weird bounces there. Anomaly coming out, sending it back to the top. Energy bursts have built up aplenty. Now 2 per team here. As Snake and Average Alex continue fighting. Seen this Drakkar picked up a handful of times over the course of the day, and this time in the midfield slot. Average Alex and PPL. Power play opportunities. Fiery finds one. Got plenty of energy bursts online, but even still, they can't find this goal barrier. Finally, we'll commit an energy barrier for it. And just a couple of flips later, the core finds the back of the net.
They held for what felt like 10 minutes, that last barrier, and all of a sudden it just fell apart. Fudgy was doing so well in the defense. Just like that, none of it matters. One thing I was waiting to jump in on here is Snake going for the Van Braces here means he really has to rely on that middle speed gate for the speed, but it makes a lot of sense considering you have the missile prop Drakkar, the missile prop Luna, and then just Centauro, who can put a lot of damage out there. So Snake gonna really have to try to stay alive here and really get his hands on the core, as well as having the Atlas Celestial Intervention. Gonna hopefully be able to stay alive, and I think so far that plan is working, and they're even finding some power plays themselves.
Certainly worked in this goal so far. Snake has not been fully staggered. Now, great couple of creations there coming out of Gumi and Fudgy will mean the goal barrier will fall on the power play. Banish comes through here. Gumi will find the core. Now, again, looking for Fiery. This low stagger Centauro getting pinballed around. Will go into the Oni's blade for the evade. The KO is not found yet. Fudgy continues to hold this final goal barrier for Demons Raw again, but here's the power play. His Average Alex finds the KO with the energy burst. Gumi knocked around 2. Has to be careful here. Fudgy's got another ultimate at the ready here. We'll be able to heal back up. Still power play opportunity. Bloom comes in. Will find the goal barrier for it. Average Alex steals the speed gate. Bloom, well done to get this one around Snake, but it might not be enough. That was Banish, barely catches the core, and Bloom's got the strike timing to send it away. Fudgy does have his burst available, and there is the core just meeting Snake at the top spin on the top side.
Yeah, and I think the missile prop on the rune here has already caught them off guard a few times, just the extra range of that banish. Not something that you really ever see picked in a draft, but if it's a starting awakening, it can get some value, and I think you've seen that happen a few times. It's just so hard to remember that it's just going to reach really across the whole field. But these teams, I think, saw earlier that we were going to maybe have the shortest day ever, and they're making sure this night market game challenges that record.
Good old night market, right? Taking this one as far as possible. Maybe not this point, as goal barriers will fall here early. Fudgy also on alert at the moment. Walked up very far just to try to avoid some damage. Fire is also getting knocked around. Gloomy will take a shot with an energy burst. Sent away by Bloom, and 2 bursts available here for PPL. Fiery will use his, escorting the goal in. Bloom still has his, and it's set point for PPL.
Yeah, and as much as they're able to hold, it doesn't feel like so far Demon's Raw is able to set up the same kind of offensive pressure that PPL has been able to. I think part of that is Snake, not quite having the speed that everyone else does, everyone else going for the speed goalie, or forward gears rather, but him going for the Van Brace, trying to stay alive, but can't stay alive against Ricard there with the lock and load, the flip as well. Nothing Van Brace is going to do there, and they have a power play early on here to try to find this, but Fiery at risk of getting KO'd here as well.
Plenty of damage. Weston, what did this Drakkar character do all this damage? I don't know what's happened, but all of a sudden, we're seeing this Drakkar get picked up in some damage comps, and it's doing incredibly well. Of course, Hungry Like Nephew played it in the last match we watched, and now here as well for Average Alex. Snake gets KO'd here again. The power play effectively continues. Fiery can't quite find the core. Has now burned every cooldown in the kit, including the burst here. Can't find the goal barrier. The energy burst looks for the clear, but it actually gets sent around the geometry right back at him. There's the KO as Fiery is now taken off the pitch. Some breathing room maybe for the Demons. And Bloom doing a really good job really setting this core, focusing where Snake is not, right? Not only not playing ping pong, but knowing that Snake could use that slip, the extra dash range of this Kazan, to have such a large presence along with the crooked leverage. And oftentimes, very difficult to get around. Oh, Anomaly despawns just in the nick of time. That could set up a tricky situation here for Fudgy. Good evade from Fiery. Getting out of the banish. Bloom in the boost, looking again. Snake dribbling. Can't quite find the play on the pop-up. Another opportunity here, and the top spin is there. It is the full gambit here in the opening set.
Yeah, Snake's just having to do all the offense himself, but he's good enough that time that he finds the stun, finds the goal there. So, I mean, every single point has been long, back and forth, both teams getting power plays, but not quite converting as consistently as they might want. And we're just going to see who wins this battle of attrition in this first set and what kind of awakenings they can get to really accelerate the pace. But it's Snake doing everything. Once again, finds both barriers. A flip here on Gumi as well, and they're in great position to take this set.
Beautiful play. Now Gumi steps up, and as you mentioned, burns it immediately, finds the shot that nobody was expecting. Demon's Raw walk away with the pick of the litter here up first. Weston, I'm looking out for those defensive awakenings. Reptile, Remedy, Stagger, all of those sorts of things here. Really going to be critical, I think, in this game.
Yeah, and as far as at least the pick order, it's really a worst-case scenario for Demon's Raw as the Atlas picking first, and then you have Drakkar and Luna right after. I don't think, yeah, we don't really have that survivability that you were looking for. We do have something like Stacks that can get some speed that I think Demon's Raw is really needing here to stay on offense more. They're going for it on the rune rather than the Kazan, because I think the Kazan is more of a target even with that Van Brace. But the single spark going will be a help, but Bloom getting Prize Fighter, Fiery getting Stinger, it's a lot of damage, and they were able to deny the only stagger that showed up as well. So we'll see what Demon's Raw can do to really try to stay alive here, and if Gumi's able to keep those stacks up.
You know, the one thing I will say in terms of defensive awakenings is Spark of Power does help Snake in that aspect as well, right? Deal more damage, heal more damage. So gets a little something, but yeah, how much can you consider one Spark? Always a possibility that that could be insurance taken into the later sets if the game is to go on for that long. Now KO is found. Of course, Demon's RAAH doesn't want to let it get there. Power play opportunity here. Gumi with another banish on average Alex. Snake is there, wins the strike war. Now trying to trip up Bloom. Doesn't find the goal just yet, but Fudgy moved up to the midfield line. Might be looking to get involved here with this energy burst as well. Will use it here, trying to keep up the pressure, but good coverage from Fiery and the Yoni's Blade. Will not let that happen. Meanwhile, Snake continues to bully Bloom away. Doesn't even need to use the energy burst to send the core in.
A beautiful play by Gumi, teleports in and then finds a perfect pass to Snake, who didn't even have to use the core flip. And stacks is something that on Rune, it's really good when you have it, but it takes so long to stack sometimes that I think people really shy away from picking it. But we saw that first set. People were level 6, level 5 at the end of it as average Alex finds a KO. So I think you're going to have the time to stack that up as long as Gumi isn't getting KO'd. And I think Snake is always going to be the target. So if these points continue to go long, it'll be an advantage for Demon's RAAH, as hopefully Gumi is able to get those stacks up and then really able to be all over, make Bloom's life very difficult. But PPL finding some KOs, finding a stagger on Gumi, who's trying to keep those stacks alive, and they have both barriers open.
Gumi going down would be catastrophic for Demons. The whammy rocket goes slightly wide of Fudgy. Fudgy good evade of the eye rush. Just walking out of the way, still looking to keep away from Fiery, but Fiery will KO the opposing goalie, and a huge power play opportunity is opened up now on the map. Banishes come out. Gumi looking to try to play the Rune goalie here, but right now he's a forward and he's in the net. Not able to hold that time around, and PPL capitalize.
Went to look to set up the pillar after the banish there, but I think it was just such an obvious play that Alex and Fiery were always going to be there to stand on it, get it out of the way, and then Gumi was just a little bit too far away, a little bit out of position to play the defense there. So that time it was Fiery just KOing Fudgy Waffles, which is not going to be easy. He always has that resurrect on himself, and you know, it can be hard to keep track of your teammates, but he's always going to know when he's dying. So we'll see if that's something that Fiery can consistently go for, but not going to be going for anything for a little bit while, sent to the penalty box, KO'd here, and we'll see if Snake and Gumi can find this.
Fudgy up to midfield line once more. Bloom will use the energy burst, trying to just play the penalty kill at the moment. Double banish, though, comes out of Gumi. The top spin doesn't quite come up with the goal barrier, as enough of the members of PPL around didn't quite see who swiped that one away, but it doesn't matter because Fudgy will keep the play alive here for Snake. Down up to the top side. Doesn't quite have the dash, or wasn't looking for it. Doesn't even need it. Just strong fundamentals here from Demon's RAAH. Core goes in once more.
Yeah, Gumi and Snake are doing such a good job punishing this Luna in the open net. Once it's to the open net, it feels so difficult to clear against a Rune and a Kazan who can just reach to absolutely anywhere. So I think in that first set, as much as, you know, Demon's RAAH was able to take it, it was really difficult for them because Bloom did such a good job, and Alex on the defense as well, of keeping the goal open for a long time. But every time Snake and Gumi are able to get the goal open, it's so easy for those two characters to be able to convert, and it looks like they're going to be in great position potentially here as well, with Gumi having a flip, both forwards being low, and Snake in an offensive position and finding it open here.
Another double banish. There's the power play that comes through off of the burst. Fiery has to try to keep possession of the core in this corner as much as possible, but it's going to go right back over to Snake. There's the top spin, and there is the goal. Demon's RAAH now up 2-0, and even though some of these points have been hard fought, Wested, they might be sending us to a quick 3-0.
Yeah, it really does just feel like they're in control, even though it takes them a little bit to get there. And that's even with Snake just taking that single spark in the first set. We have another spark showing up here, and we'll see if Fiery goes for the decision of denying it or tries to scale himself here. I think would really like that dash range from explosive entrance, and not even going to go for the spark. The build different is going to make it even more difficult, that size on the Kazan for Bloom to try to clear out once they get the goal open. The Deadeye being denied from Luna as well will kind of take out a little bit more of that potential damage win condition that they'd be looking for, as you'd have Missile Prop, Prize Fighter, and Deadeye on Luna potentially, but instead going to have to go for the Among Titans. So we'll see if that size difference can help, but I don't think PPL got anything that's changing the game too much here, and they're really just going to have to shut down these early double barrier gets from Demon's RAAH, and they're the ones finding the KOs here early on.
I was going to say, like, even looking at this, right, PPL's shown signs of success, getting some KOs, not really able to pick up a lot of damage awakening. Sure, you get the You get the Super Surge here, which Fire actually makes a beautiful use, transitioning across the pitch. And then the goal gates will open up, allowing him to score that one. But even still here, right, feels like it's going to be very difficult to play for PPL, as the signs of success they were showing, they can't fully capitalize on just yet. And meanwhile, of course, Demon's RAHH picking up a handful of things that they will enjoy. I imagine Snake here, that extra size going to be very impactful, especially finding some of these barriers, catching the core with the top spin and the like against this Luna, who you mentioned earlier, ultimately defenseless.
Yeah, trying to hold on here, but yeah, prime time on the rune as well. Just so much reach, and you see they're able to keep the core on the other side for such a long time because Kazan and Rune both so great at when the core gets behind you, putting it right back in there. So Alex just here trying to play defense forever. They finally get it out, and they're able to get two barriers. A missed strike by Fudgy or Goomy. I'm not sure who there, but either way, they find it. But Snake is able to get a KO on the other side. Almost an own barrier, and Bloom coming in almost finds it as well, but the double creations are able to get the save here, and they're able to survive for now, but not in great position to get this barrier just yet.
The anomaly is there, and we're in overtime now all of a sudden. Fiery has had a couple plays towards the core before. Here's the rush in. There's the burst, and we'll send it through, stepping on the anomaly in the process. Fiery's shown multiple, like, incredibly flashy plays and quick thinking that's allowed him to score some of these goals when given the opportunity. Excellent on some of these conversions. Just needs to find one more here to extend the length of this game.
Yeah, the dash range, along with the Luna coming in here, has been a big distraction a lot of times. As much as I've talked about how difficult it is to defend Demon's RAHH comp when it's open goal, same goes for PPL, and they're able to find a quick 3-0, 3 quick points. And like you said, it's all Fiery finding those conversions. So just completely flipping the script of what we had in those first two sets. We've seen that a lot with Demons throughout this season, and it's a 3-0 for PPL to extend this game.
Now, what do you take here? Flight or flight, obviously very important. Bulk up has a chance to deny that extra stagger. Spark of leadership, chance to deny that spark. We'll go for the bulk up here. Snake, not particularly interested in the spark at all. Opts for the heavy impact for the more damage.
Yeah, the ship kind of sailed on the sparks, I think, when you didn't take it the last time. So instead, going for the heavy impact, the Drakkar is going to deny the twin drive from the Atlas, but the Atlas is going to settle for Rune. I think the reason they did that is you kind of have to deny your own Rune, the hot shot. But it going on Atlas is going to be just fine, and the Monumentalist might be able to set up some more plays. But I think Fiery here has slowly been building up a very scary build on the Zen, and we saw him take over that last set. If he can do kind of the same thing, if they can get the barrier open a little bit earlier, Fiery is just going to put so much pressure onto Fudgy, who got some more cooldowns with that hot shot, but I think it's still going to be very difficult to defend.
I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, so somebody's going to have to correct me one way or the other, but with missile propulsion and Deadeye, there's a chance that projection procs the Deadeye, which he denied earlier, right? So if you get the Deadeye plus the hot shot on the missile propulsion projection, that could send the core skyrocketing. Of course, Fiery doesn't care right now. That's another goal on the board for PPL, and they're looking to just send us quickly to a set 5 here. PPL, I don't know what changed. Suddenly they just found their footing.
Yeah, and that Deadeye definitely will be able to proc. And really, Fudgy's entire build, those three that you talked about, along with the team player, really lend themselves to core speed, and I think especially overtime with that team player and the hot shot. So I think PPL really wants to take care of these points early, and that's what they've been doing these last 4 points. Fiery just making some magic happen. Snake, though, making magic happen on the other side this time. So we'll see if they're able to convert, maybe even just extend it to overtime and make use of that team player. But PPL with 2 flips here is going to put some pressure on them.
Snake able to catch it, of course, in the top spin. Bloom is now approaching. Double banish, though, comes out, and Bloom can't get back with the eject button. Huge punish there, and a little bit greedy, I think, from the PPL goalie will be what sends this one the other way. But to your point, right, that was getting closer to the overtime. Things were starting to continue on there, so PPL get another opportunity here on kickoff with nearly 3 bursts available.
Yeah, all the momentum in PPL's favor, and maybe a swing found by Goomy there, a great play. And like you said, maybe a little greed from Bloom, but we'll see if they can try to get that momentum back. Like we talked about, 3 flips potentially here, but Bloom maybe gonna have to use it defensively, trying to get Snake off him, and instead turns defense into offense, turns it right around and takes out Snake. So we'll see if they can convert this power play. They have 2 flips, but Gumi doing his best to stall, and they find a return KO. No, not a return KO, sorry, it's just Gumi now playing defense on his own.
Double power play for PPL. Here's Fiery again, able to convert. And it is set point once more for this PPL squad, looking to send us to a 5th. How about the use of those energy bursts there in the last one was able to be very successful.
Yeah, Bloom has 3 prize fighter stacks now, along with the missile prop. Every time that he's dashing in, like you see on Snake right there, who heals it all back immediately because of those Van Braces. But if they can find any bursts, like Bloom did last time with the flip, with the ultimate, they're going to be able to find those KOs really quickly, and I think that's what's turned around here, as Gumi with the flip sends it out. A lot of damage sent onto him, but nothing found yet, as Gumi is just got those full stacks on. So if they can extend this, Gumi's going to have a ton of reach with all that speed on the full stacks, but it's still an energy advantage for PPL and a lot of momentum they've been able to find in these last 5 points.
They say energy advantage. Snake is almost about to have his burst, which could quickly change the tide of the match. Average Alex also has to be a little bit careful, holding on to his for some time now, but a beautiful defense there. Doesn't matter. Snake's still able to collect the goal barrier. Anomaly is out. Doesn't quite find the core in the way that they might have liked. Tony's Blade is now here. Bloom in on the boost. Can't quite find the core that time. Doesn't get trapped in the banish and will escape to safety, but now it's Fiery getting sent away. Snake actually going to get resurrected here by Fudgy, and it's Fiery currently on the back foot in terms of stagger, but finds the goal barriers nonetheless for PPL. Overtime now, and an opportunity. There's the Expanse Sensor skyrocketing. Bloom in under pressure from Snake, still able to find the core sent away, and Average Alex back to help in time. Drops into Cloak. Can't quite get to the core in time just with how quickly it's moving, but there's a beautiful lock and load. The shotgun comes up with the goal as Average Alex gets involved to send us to set 5.
There was a huge goal line save made by Bloom, somehow able to win the strike war against that sized Kazan as among Titans Luna. So just complete disadvantage, able to win that, and then Alex with the missile propulsion barely has the reach to call out that clear. And this game just completely turned around. PPL finding so much, denying that extra special from the rune, because I think those banishes have been a real problem even when they've been winning. Also gonna, I think, help you win kickoff really consistently if you want to use it in that way. If you are Average Alex, the adrenaline rush on Luna as well, just more and more damage for PPL here. Gumi was the one who had to take the Reptile Remedy there, so going to be able to stay alive and hopefully keep his stacks on, but I think it's still going to be a really difficult life for Snake here as the Kazan, even with Van Braces. I think they're starting to get to the point where that burst might just be enough to counteract it, as almost KO'd there.
Oh, and there is the finisher with the Crater. Has no evade or anything at all to escape the amount of damage available, and it's PPL in position here, finds the goal barrier. Oni's Blade looking to trap the core, but it's sent away. Here's the EI rush. Chunk down Fudgy Waffles here to a significant degree. Fiery in pursuit, and that allows Bloom to come in on the boost, securing the goal for PPL.
Bloom doing so much in that point, finding the early KO, so now has 2 prize fighter stacks, has the adrenaline rush as well, so just really everything is starting to snowball for PPL. We saw that in those first 2 sets as well, that just the momentum turned around so quickly, and now Bloom has a very scary build, a lot of damage potential. Average Alex getting taken down here. We'll see if they can convert that KO or maybe find both barriers early, but so far the defense is holding for Bloom.
Cheeky angle from Snake. I was afraid that rebound was going to go right back to him to find the second barrier, but not able to do so just yet. Now there's the energy burst out of Bloom. Snake sent away after pulling in Average Alex with the crooked leverage. It's a power play opportunity here, and now healed back up by Fudgy's ultimate. There's the Creations coming out again. Fudgy up to the midfield line means that this is going to be theoretically a quick point for Demon's Raw, but Average Alex is right back there. Here's the banish, and now double anomaly used. Average Alex sent right back to the penalty box. Opens up the top side of the map, and Snake will score the goal. 1-2 now will take the game.
Yeah, and as much as PPL's damage has been the story these last few sets, Snake does a ton as well when he's able to use those cooldowns offensively and force Bloom out of the goal box there to try to keep his prize fighter stacks on and just stay alive in general. But instead, Snake was able to find it, but now early 2 barriers very quickly, and that's kind of the win condition. The recipe that PPL found early was if they got those, they were able to put the pressure on, and Fudgy at risk of being KO'd here. The defense is holding for PPL so far, but not quite, as Snake is able to find both, and both barriers are open.
Beautiful spacing at the top. Someone here from Snake has the energy burst, will be looking to send it through. Doesn't quite, but now Gumi comes up with the banish on 2 members of PPL, and he'll send in the goal. It's game point for Demons RAAH.
Yeah, unfortunate that the clear went into the banish there. I think if it went down, they might have been able to get it out a lot more safely, but just a great strike outside of the banish, timed it perfectly. Was able to find that goal, and now putting a lot of damage onto Average Alex, and a missed strike means an early double barrier here for Demons RAAH.
In under pressure right now is Bloom, has to find the way to hold this one. Average Alex denies the pass between Gumi and Snake. Crooked Leverage, though, comes back, and Snake's got the core in his hands. Average Alex once more sent back to the penalty box by Demons RAAH. And here's the energy burst from Bloom. Has to save it for a defensive strategy. And now Fiery gets banished to the midfield line. There's the defense, pulling it away from Snake for just a moment. Crater comes out, but the top spin is there. Bloom with the goal line save. Keeps the points alive right now for PPL. Snake sent away by Average Alex's Molten Bolt. Finally finding some revenge on this Drakkar. And Fiery finds a way to weave between the creations. Doesn't have the energy burst quite in its radius right now, looking for it again, or maybe trying to save it for the next point. Doesn't quite, as Snake is dropped back, helping with the save. Gumi, so much speed of the stacks on stacks, is up there on the top side, will get rescued by Fudgy once more. Fiery with the shot, it'll go off the post. Banish comes out once more. There's the anomaly. Snake maybe with an opportunity here, but actually both brawlers have the chance. It's Fiery with the top post, and we are on a decisive goal.
And that heroic save you talked about from Bloom, it was actually the top spin from Snake that sent him just barely back into the goal. Into Rage, was able to find that, and then so much pressure from both teams. Gumi luckily was able to hold on to that flip at least, so that might be the story of this point, but it's a lot of energy for PPL as well, and not a ton, no flips yet, and Fudgy gets KO'd, the adrenaline rush for Bloom as well.
It was a quick point when Fudgy was KO'd the first time. PPL might be looking to do the same here. Gumi's got the anomaly to keep the barrier alive. Burns the energy burst. Won't have that now. Fiery looks to send it through. Fudgy's back online in time. The banish is there as well. 2 energy bursts online right now for PPL as they look to take this first game. It has been hard fought, clawed back by PPL. They were down 2 sets earlier in this game and found a way to turn it around despite what they were looking at in terms of some of these Awakenings drafts. There's an energy burst, actually defensive and offensive there, as it finds its mark. Open goal gates now. Fire with an opportunity. Fudgy was just sent away by Average Alex or something. I don't even know what Fudgy was pinballed around by, but he ended up at the midfield line. Open goal, and that is the punish. PPL takes game 1.
What a game that was. We had really 4 dominant sets, 2 on each side, and then so much back and forth in that 5th one, and Average Alex taking himself an MVP, kind of stealing that last goal. But when you look at the scoreboard here, doing so much work, it felt like we didn't say his name that much, but 330 redirects on the Drakkar midfield here, and you see some of those damage numbers, so many KOs on both sides, but it was just incredible how PPL was able to turn the momentum around. I think in the mid game, it was Fiery finding so many heroic plays, and then really Bloom and Alex putting so much pressure onto Snake with the KOs in that last set as well, and PPL turning that around on Demons RAAH map pick when it looked so dominant for them early on. That was an incredible turnaround.
You know, Weston, the other thing about that 330 redirects is you have to remember the number of times that Average Alex was KO'd. It's sitting in the penalty box for a decent chunk of the time in some of those points. So likely could have even gotten even more had that not been the case. But so many points there coming down to the wire. Again, we're seeing just how close a team like PPL can make this now revitalized Demons RAAH roster really make them squirm. This final point here, I don't even know what happened. I need to go back and watch that 5 times to fully understand how that final point went in the goal. But doesn't matter how it does. If you're PPL, you'll take the scoreboard at the bottom of the screen right now. They are up 1-0 over Demons RAAH. Weston, you show me this screenshot 2 years ago, and I think you, like, it must have been AI generated and it didn't know anything. Like,
Yeah. And how often do you see a Luna outsave an Atlas by 43 saves? Down 40 redirects as well. But 239 redirects and 131 saves from Loom. Snake was putting so much pressure. And if you think about as a Luna clearing against a primetime Rune and a size Kazan, like how he was able to hold on to so many of those points into overtime against, Hotshot, against team player, just a heroic performance in so many ways from all three members of PPL. And as much as the story is going to be about how they brought that back, Demons RAAH did still look very strong. I don't think it was like like we saw in week 1 when they got 6-0'd and it was like, oh, okay, like they showed up today, but PPL
yeah,
was just able to bring that back.
they showed up for sure. And again, right? Like, I think there are a lot of huge individual performances that were made in that last game that really swung the tides for PPL. We saw it multiple times with clears from Bloom, multiple times with conversions from Fiery. Average Alex obviously had an impact according to the stat screen, right? The silent midfielder, more so as it is, but was able to help out in a lot of different instances there. And now we're heading to the PPL map pick of Auten City, a pick we don't get to see a lot of play on here at all, Weston.
Yeah, and I saw some talk earlier about how it's been forever since Demons RAAH hasn't banned this map, and they didn't ban it in round 1. And PPL, knew that they really didn't want to play it, and they picked it here. So yeah, I think the pressure is definitely, obviously, because it's one of the pressures on Demons RAAH, but especially a map pick that seems like it would lend itself to a team like PPL where Bloom can kind of play anything. And Demons RAAH, considering they haven't played this map in forever, probably hasn't practiced it as much. I'd be a little bit scared here if I'm a Demons RAAH fan. And Glass Cannon cast last start, kind of interesting here. I think Octavia, if either team is ready to pick it, is a really strong pick here. But a pick that, or a starting Awakening set that is, not really anything crazy for anyone except for maybe the Octavia.
Has Octavia been present in draft so far? I don't really think so this season. Maybe like here or there. Hang on. I'm pulling up the stats.
Yeah, not a lot, I
Octavia.
don't think, but it was
Probably
banned
not.
here by PPL in that first
Okay.
pick. Banned by PPL, which means they didn't want to pick it, which is interesting. But yeah, since this is PPL's map pick and they're on blue, that does mean that Demons RAAH went for red side here, which I think can make some sense. There's been a lot of talk about how the win rate, I don't know what it's like now, but it was very red side favored. So I think going for something like maybe like a Rasmus Estelle here, if you can get both of those picks on red side, would be really strong. And then just figuring out your goalie later, maybe that's something they're going for. But really going for pairing 2 picks together here. But we'll see what PPL takes in that B1 spot first, because it's a map that, like you said, we don't see a lot. So it's hard to think of where the meta is.
Estelle is the pickup here. A striker still struggling in the grand scheme of things, right? Often picked, but doesn't quite have the highest win rate in the season so far. I think it's continued to rise a little bit, at least over the course of things. But chat really wants to see Snake on the Juliet. We'll see whether or not it's picked up here in a bit. But no, actually, Kai Rasmus are the 2-3.
Yeah, maybe they were going to go for that Estelle Rasmus, but instead getting the Kai Rasmus here. And it's just, I think, such a different midfield meta when you're on this map. It's like really Estelle and Kai that are the priority picks in a world where we've seen so much of really like every midfielder. Like, I think it's been a great meta as far as you've seen everything picked, but here it's the Estelle and the Kai going first. The Arab band as well, I think, makes a lot of sense, especially with Castellast. But we're going to have
Oh,
Fudgy, or no, that's Loom denying the Mako, so I think that's what
well, hang
Fudgy
on.
really would have liked here.
It's Fiery in the forward slot.
Oh,
We're going to see
right.
Mako forward on Auten City out of PPL. There's a chance. I wouldn't rule it out.
Definitely could.
Okay, never mind.
But the Kazan,
Not a
Kazan
different.
goes there. I was starting to believe as well. You had me going, but it is the Kazan on Fiery, which is such a dangerous pick on this map. Dangerous if you're the enemy goalie. It's going to be really difficult. I'm curious what Fudgy is on here. Maybe it's the Kai, but no melee goalie. I think it makes sense on this map to not go with the Atlas with the Mako picked away, especially with those range nerfs as well. But we have the Kai Rasmus Juno. It's going to make for a very interesting comp and a very different play style, I think, here for Demon's RAHH.
Yeah, theoretically, right, you get a little more core control on Auten City in particular, right? A map that's known to be very open, right? So maybe they're trying to play with those ideas overall. Interesting to see, I think the Juno pick, especially on Auten City with a core control mentality with, or I'm going to assume it's Juno goalie. Maybe it will be, maybe it won't be. Fudgy could surprise us. I mean, all three of these strikers feel like they could go anywhere. So we'll have to just wait and see as we load in a striker select here. But without the dash awakening start is really what would surprise me and lead me towards maybe not the Juno goalie. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Who knows what they're cooking? We won't know for another couple seconds.
And I think something also with that is you've seen a lot more like momentum boots Juno as well. And so maybe going to go for more of just, especially with glass cannon start. And I think against, ideally you're not getting hit by a Stell Beam. So you're able to keep that glass cannon, those momentum boots up a lot. It might mean that Fudgy can play, we see him on Atlas and on Mako running those momentum boots, trying to push up, trying to play around the midfield line, just like Gumi is. And maybe with the Juno is going to be able to do the same with all that speed, if it is indeed him on that Juno pick. So we'll see. I think the Kai and Juno could go either way here, but I would assume it's Fudgy. But the Estelle Rasmus, no matter which goalie it is, I think is going to be really scary to clear against. Much like the last game we saw with Maloom being fighting some very difficult battles against the Rune Kazan. I think Kazan Estelle is going to do the same thing, and it's kind of those hard confirms like from an Estelle that you really need to find the barrier and find the goals on this map.
Well, we are about to load in here, and we still don't know. We will know in a couple of seconds here because Demon's RAHH chose red side. So we didn't have that. All right. It is Snake, Rasmus, Gumi, Kai, Fudgy, Juno. So again.
But it's Gumi in the goal box.
But it's Gumi in the goal box. Eject button. Whoa. Okay. Wow. Wasn't expecting to see eject button Kai out of Gumi today. I don't think I was expecting to see a lot of things in general, but this is certainly not one of them. I suppose, though, makes sense. I mean, you get a speed awakening on the start. All 6 players picking up the glass cannon.
Yeah, I'm surprised. A little surprised that Gumi didn't go for Cast Flask because it let you stay in there a little bit longer. But instead going for the glass cannon, like you said. And Fudgy, switching to that midfield role, is able to win the strike war there and gets an early goal. I think either way, you were kind of going to be playing Fudgy and Gumi in similar roles where they were going to be kind of double midfielding, really trying to control the core and keep it on the left side of our screen the entire time. But I did not expect them to roll swap back to, what they got 6-0'd in week 1. But so far, it's looking strong. And like their win condition here is to just really keep the pressure on and keep the core on that left side every time. As soon as it starts to get back, like you saw in there, Gumi is going to make use of that eject button. But Snake actually taking a lot of damage here.
That is something that we don't really get to talk about in the current state of Omega Strikers. Not a lot of, typically, when you're on a team, you will definitely have a specific role, but with this Demon's RAHH roster in particular, where Fudgy has played both roles back and forth, there is a lot more flexibility, right, in what you're able to do with that. You can't really say the same for a roster like Showtime, right? Where sure, Joker has played both forward and midfield, but obviously in very different contexts at very different times, and you're unlikely to see a player like Shionzu or Barcode move around, right? So having this flexibility, I think, is something that could lead Demon's RAHH to larger success later on if they can really dial in how they want to approach these drafts.
Yeah, and they're finding the pressure. They found a 6-second goal there early on, and Snake with this flip, it's going to put some pressure on, but a really well-timed ult from Bloom, but it's just not enough. Didn't let go of that secondary, didn't use the flip as it looked like there wasn't room to find it. but Snake was able to do it, and now Fudgy pushing ahead. Gonna maybe force out these flips defensively, and it's both of them at the same time, unfortunately, for PPL, so that's gonna be a big swing. Average Alex jumping in, playing some defense there as well, but they just can't get the core out for any extended amount of time, and it's so much pressure. Fudgy finding that last goal, and Demons RAAH switching roles once again, surprising us again, but it's a dominant first set for them.
That's the core control that we were talking about, right? The second that those Juno Blobos go out, you know that goal is almost as good as in. With just how locked down that corner was and how much coverage there was on opposite sides of the map, a triple spark draft here for our first one. Huge advantage over to Demons RAAH, and a size awakening here for the Rasmus of Snake up first.
Yeah, and I think you really would have liked, if you're PPL, for the Estelle to have beaten the Juno out for the hot shot. You know, it's going to be good on the Mako here, but the fact that you had to have that be denied away from your Estelle is going to be difficult, but the Deadeye is going to make some things happen as well. But I think really the story of that draft is that only one Size Awakening showed up, and that means that Snake was able to get it for himself. Fiery would have loved that onto his side, but maybe doesn't need the size early on, and it's that Deadeye from Average Alex finding a KO onto Gooby, and that first point going over to the side of PPL.
Bang goes the piercing shot of Average Alex. It's come up with multiple primaries towards the net, and does one just there. The exact reason why, theoretically, the Estelle looks strong, even if we haven't seen the full statistical support of that so far in the first half of this season. Here at the top corner, Fiery actually with an insane angle. Wasn't expecting that one to go towards the net. More so expecting to go for the corner, but even still able to find it. Probably caught Kumi off guard there as well. And quick 2-0 once again here for PPL.
Yeah, and every time you see the core on the right side of the screen for a long time, it's going to mean bad things for Demons RAAH, as they just don't have the defensive capabilities that PPL's comp does, you know, with that Estelle. And they're keeping it all the pressure on this entire set. Average Alex not quite able to make it happen with the flip there, so it will swing back the other way, but getting the goal barrier open early is going to be huge. And now Fudgy and Snake taking a bit of damage. Fiery pushing it, has that flip. The Juno Slime was able to save it for just a moment, but a strike from Fiery gets it in. And in what felt like maybe 30 seconds, PPL takes that set right back.
How disgusting was that play out of Fiery, using everything in the Kazan's kit to move the core back, and even waiting after the energy burst and letting that panic set in. So once again, PPL equalizes us one set apiece, and it's a Size Awakening for the Kazan. Who could have guessed?
Yeah, Size Awakening for Kazan, Speed Awakening for Estelle is going to be a lot of pressure. I mean, that team player is definitely nice on this map when you have all that open space, but this is a map that you're not often going to be able to use, you know, the overtime where team player is really, really scary for your team. So it's not quite as good as maybe it might be in other situations, but still with all the open space, that is going to be something that can turn some of these points around for Demons RAAH. But I think the forwards of PPL got exactly what they wanted, the size and the speed, and it's going to be really difficult for Demons RAAH to try to play defense against those picks here.
And again, you mentioned, right? I think the core control comp right now of Demons RAAH really will play around the midfield line incredibly well. But it's going to be difficult to force the core away and out of the hands, the waiting hands of Fiery, especially with an extra Size Awakening picked up. Just because you don't have those extra melee goalie shove away kind of abilities. Open goal gates on both sides now. Average Alex with a core flip right up to Fiery. Beautiful redirect through the wickets. It is a 4-0 drought right now for Demons RAAH.
Yeah, 4-0, and they found the barrier so early in these points. You know, it is such a quick 3-0 for Demons RAAH that we never really got to see the defensive deficiencies that, you know, we knew this comp had, but seeing it in action, how much that Kazan and that Estelle can just keep the pressure on you and never let you get it past them. It's really how they've been able to get 4 points in a row. They have Fiery low here, but a lot of energy to evade. And on this map, you never really have to go toward those sides, so it's so hard to confirm the KOs. They'll try to find it here, but Fiery so far staying alive, although staggered now. And you know, those orbs, if they let him go around and take them like this, just like that, he's back in the play, and they were able to keep the defense on for long enough.
Goal barrier stays alive here as well, but not for much longer. Throws warp comes up just shy. Goal barrier open here. Snake towards the top side of the pitch. Goomy is on the blazing pace, but doesn't quite have the distance with it just yet. Opportunity to pick up Castellast, of course, later on, and now uses the barrage to find a KO. Finally, Fiery will be taken down. Shoots it forward into the snare drums. We're in overtime now, but the double KO comes through. Snake sends the pendulum swing down, and that will be what snaps the Demon's Raw drought.
Yeah, not sure if he was charging primary or secondary there, Bloom. But that's why historically, I think Rasmus is seen as a very strong character into Mako, because you have to charge up those abilities, and it's just so easy for the Rasmus to punish a million strikes in there, but somehow PPL is able to hold on, just layering their strikes and their abilities really well over and over here, and it allows them to turn the field back over, get it to the other side, and we'll see if Fiery can find this. But a great strike win from Fudgy, and the pendulum swing, it goes back the other way, and Goomy with that eject button puts the pressure back on, opens this goal up early.
Average Alex does have the energy burst here. Snake looks to collect with the pendulum swing, but now Fiery knocks him away, and there's the goal barrier taken down, and now Fiery maybe with an opportunity, but there's the energy burst. Now Death Touch could pull it back from Snake, but Fiery is ready for it. Bloom does have the core flip available as well. Crooked leverage from Fiery used defensively, trying to just control the midfield line and keep this one away from the possession of Demon's Raw, but again, they will dominate the midfield, as we have seen time and again. Goomy, quick pass, now down to Fudgy. Average Alex is dropped back. We'll cover the bottom side of the goal. We're in overtime now. Core speed will start skyrocketing. Down to the bottom corner. Bloom is ready for it. Average Alex, maybe with an opportunity here to Fiery. There's the energy burst. Actually just going to bait out Goomy's burst as well. Fiery, crooked leverage. Fudgy back in time, and the midfielders playing huge roles on the defensive sides of the pitch in this point. Fudgy's been there, and now Average Alex with the KO. It's Snake down, and Fiery maybe with some room to work. Pulls it back with a crooked leverage and pulls it through.
In that last draft, I mean, I really thought that Hotshot not going to the Estelle was going to be a problem, but that Deadeye has found so much value, so many KOs on, I think, all of the members of Demon's Raw. It's just, you know, that added pressure that no one else really has in the game here. Although Snake putting the pressure on, getting the goal barrier open early. 2 flips for the side of PPL. I think if they can get the goal open, they'll be in a great position to use them, but it's Snake and Fudgy controlling that midfield line once again, not letting it get over there for any extended amount of time, and now Gooby coming into the play, trying to make it happen, but so far the Demons offense not finding it.
Don't even have to burn the energy burst here from PPL. Here's a top spin. Fiery, beautiful spacing on that one, and the energy burst is used to find another KO against Snake. Power play opportunity here. Average Alex maybe looking for Fiery down on the bottom side, or looking to take it himself. There's the energy burst from Fiery. Steps up and will send it through. One set away from PPL. 2-0ing Demon's Raw.
Yeah, I think the Juno was, the slime there was in the process of turning into creation, so it was able to go through. You see that interaction all the time, but a very inopportune time for it right there. And the Estelle winning the draft here is going to be interesting. You have that 1-2 punch that the Juno would love to get, make some core speed to get the core onto the other side, but the Estelle will deny it here. The Mako getting the twin drive as well, I think, will really mean that you can convert those offensive opportunities a lot more often, with always having that speed. And once again, one size awakening has been showing up in each draft, and that means whichever team has won the set has been able to get it. 2 sets for PPL means that Fiery is going to have that size advantage over Snake, and it's going to make life even more difficult for the defense of Demon's Raw here.
And it's been already difficult enough, let alone with just how much more difficult it's going to be. Can't get it around the topspin umbrella. Can't get it around the crooked leverage when that's used to pull things back, or even when that could be used in rare opportunities to find KOs or something of the sort. Topspin comes up just short of locking the core into the corner, but there's the crooked leverage, pulls the core right back into the goal barrier. Opportunity there, but good transition from Demon's Raw means the goal barrier is down on the other side of the pitch. Here's Average Alex, crystallized thorns, now up to Fiery, just shy, but doesn't matter. I think another piercing shot from Average Alex lands, and that's one more goal up here for PPL.
over and over, it's the Deadeye that's finding so many of these plays. It found the goal barrier there as Fiery was able to hook it into the primary that had all that core speed from the Deadeye. And then the KO found on Gumi there, who was having to play the goal line defense, couldn't step forward anymore. And now, like we saw in that last set in the point 4 that we had, it's 3 flips for PPL. Their goal does go down, so we'll see if they choose to hold on to them. But 3 flips is going to put a lot of pressure. They have it open, and if they can make use of these, they'll be 1 point away. Although they use 1, and Alex is able to get KO'd by the Juno. So the momentum swinging back to Demons, but they'll have to convert this. We'll see what they can do. And somehow the core goes backwards. Bloom is able to win that. I don't know what ability sent it that way, but 1 point away for PPL.
It looked like it was almost the whiplash out of Snake that sent it back, but I know it doesn't send the core back that quickly. Folks, was Deadeye the hidden tech on Estelle that we needed the whole time, not clickbait? It sure looks like it, at least in this one, with how Average Alex has been playing in this game. Snake comes up just shy with Bloom able to send it away. Now the goal barrier will fall. This time PPL doesn't have the energy burst advantage per se, but it doesn't matter. Fiery finds a play towards the barrier, now intercepts the core away from Snake. The pendulum swing comes up just shy. Gumi trying everything in his power to get this the other way. Bloom with the energy burst just barely catches the core. Snare drums will also buy some time. Here's Fiery slipping forward. There's a top spin and he'll send it through. It's PPL taking down Demons RAHH, pulling them down to their own level.
Fiery, we saw it was really the Average Alex show for a lot of both of those games, but Fiery had so many incredible moments as well. And in that last set, that last point especially, you saw the pressure there. And going into that map, we were saying it really just felt like so much more of a PPL map because of how many picks Bloom has, just really their play style in general. And I think you saw it. They looked so much more comfortable. I mean, Demons RAHH had to switch around their roles to get to the spot that they wanted on that map. They looked good in the first set, but after that, PPL just, firing on all cylinders, really working together on so many of those points. We talked about the Deadeye from Average Alex finding 4 KOs there. And yeah, this league, we've talked about how close it is this season, even if we don't have any, map 3s for 2 weeks in a row. And PPL winning this means that's 2 more teams that get thrown into that 2 and 3 batch. And I think that's 5 teams now that are going to be 2 and 3. Half of the league is now tied in that spot.
Half of the league is tied at 2 and 3. And we are 4 weeks left in the season. In the back half here, it's starting to become crunch time, and somebody's going to have to start trying to separating themselves from the pack. I will say, theoretically here, like if you were looking at this schedule in seasons past, you look at who PPL has already played. They've already faced Hungry Like Nephew. They played against Return to Form in week 2. It was Showtime in week 3, and in their week 4 opponent was the Sundubu Strikers. So they've already taken down what previously was, or already played what previously was the big 3 in Demons, Showtime, and Hungry Like Nephew. So now, back half of the season, they're going to play against teams that maybe theoretically on paper we thought would have been around their skill level to begin with anyway. And that could mean good things for this roster making a surge towards the back half of the season.
Yeah, a really big win for their standings, like you just laid out. The schedule maybe going to be easier, although in this league you never know because we have teams that every week it just seems like they're doing something different. And what a performance from PPL. 2-0ing, both maps really at the beginning it looked like all Demons RAHH, and they're just able to stay resilient and completely take control of things. And yeah, that's 2 weeks in a row, like I just mentioned, with no map 3s. So that would make you think it's, some kind of blowout league where we have a top and a bottom, but it's just everyone is right next to each other. And yeah, great series we had.
Yeah. Let's be clear, Weston, there are no easy games, the North American Strikers League. But with game time concluded 5 hours and 15 minutes after the show's expected start, we've got an early day to wrap up, or a quick day to wrap up, I should say. But of course, folks, don't go anywhere. There will be a post show with some of your favorite players on the other side of this short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hello there, everybody, and welcome to the post show of Week 5, the North American Strikers League Season 6. Yeah, I'm actually here this time. Whoa, mind blowing.
Yay!
Doing the post show for once, and I am now joined by Average Alex, Vaughn, and Leo Leon. Average Alex, I will start with you, coming fresh off of PPL's 2-0 victory over Demons RAHH. First of all, unfiltered reactions. How's it feel to take that victory?
Feels amazing. We kind of needed that, unfortunately. The record was looking a little rough, so we kind of treated that one like it was like the last match we would ever play. So
Well,
worked out.
It turned out well. It worked out
out.
very well for you. In that case, I want to get your thoughts on this. Your picks in particular, I think, were notably interesting for the series. In game 2, I'll start with that one. You played that Estelle, ended up picking up Deadeye as a denial, and found a decent amount of value out of that. Is Deadeye the hidden tech we were missing out of Estelle the whole time?
I mean, it was helpful. I mean, it accidentally killed Snake a couple times. It definitely killed Gumi a couple times, for sure. Like, it led to the indirect death of Snake once or twice, I think. But, I mean, it's a good pickup there. I think everything else was just, like, pretty worthless, especially after 3 sparks popped, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So it felt like a no-brainer to me, and I got a little more out of it than I expected. I was like, okay, maybe I'll get 1. I got 4. Who let me do that?
Okay. I mean, hey, 4 KOs at Otten City you will certainly take no matter what, especially when your team can capitalize on those goals as well as Fiery was doing. What are those like quick transitions like the second that Fiery gets a KO on the goalie, in this case Fudgy, and then you have to scramble to the other side of the pitch quickly to actually score in time?
It's rough. Our power plays have notoriously been pretty dog water. I'm not going to lie. So every time somebody dies, everybody just walks in. Nobody talks. Nobody says a damn thing. We're all just like, please don't screw up. Please don't screw up. Not this time. Not like this again. And then we execute half the time, 50% of the time, 100% of the time.
Well, it certainly was 50% of the time, 100% of the time in that match today. So congratulations to you for picking that one up. Continuing to work backwards in the schedule. Vaughn, Hungry Like Nephew, picks up the win over Bun Bonanza today. Your reactions to your match earlier?
I think a little bittersweet. So I really enjoy playing Bun every season. We usually have one, if not the full series of close games, but I know there's some PC issues coming out from Liari, and it definitely impacted our match today. I think that team, if there are like no technical concerns, is like a top 3 contender this season. I think they look really good. But you know, you play the hand you're dealt, and so I mean, we just showed up to play our game. We tried the Era goalie for the first time this season, which has been getting a lot of popularity. And it started off extremely slowly, but I think a pretty common thing, and I mentioned this the last time I was on the air too, is I think every series there's either a full set or a full game where we just absolutely play atrociously, because we're kind of figuring out as we go this season. So we got 3-0'd in record time in our first set of the day, and then we actually just took all of the draft to just talk about like what just went wrong and like what do we do differently. And then game 2 was I mean, we slaughtered them game 2. Like it was a bloodbath. So not too much to say on that. It just went well. Game 2.
It certainly was a bloodbath. Speaking on that, where are your opinions right now on the state of these damage comps in the meta? Are you expecting to see those rise a little bit more? I imagine it's fun to play as, but incredibly frustrating to play against.
So I think there's a time and a place for them. Like for example, we almost picked the exact. So we picked something very similar versus Soon Dubu in week 2. We played Vice, goalie, Juno, midfield, and Julie brawler, which obviously is very strong pick, versus Estelle Kazan forward on Atlas Lab. But the key difference was versus Soon Dubu, they had an Atlas who completely mitigated like all of our chip damage we were getting. So I think that there's a pretty delicate dichotomy between speed and damage where it feels like if a team picks one of those mom boots goalies or has a lot of speed on their side, like you can get run away with, or if it's any of those stagger starts, it can be difficult, minus bulk up because I think it just applies power. But as always, I really feel like it comes down to the awakenings. Like if I could pick Vice every game, I would. Let's be clear. but I think there's a lot of times where she doesn't look good. So I think this season has been so volatile, just because the patch drop as it started. And I still think when I talk with different teams, everyone is so split on what they think is like the quote unquote best things to pick. Like some people think Juno's super overrated. Some people think Juno's really pick ban. Some people really like Era. Some people think she's super weak. Some people think that Julie is OP, and then other people think Julie's OP, and then everyone thinks Julie's OP. So I think there's a lot of debate on what is good and what is not good, because we've left a meta where it felt like a team picked blue side and they picked like a very like methodical, like creation based, speed based comp, and it doesn't feel like that's the case anymore. And I think that's evidenced by so many unique picks in NASL this season.
Other thing, want to talk about the unique picks, because this popped up in our second two or our final two matches today, including yours, of course. And I want to ask you about it as the grandfather of the striker, Drakkar, picked up twice, won twice today with a
W-Drek.
12% pick ban presence, but 100% or 85% win rate, going 6-1, I believe, so far this season. Is Drakkar the way of the future, Vaughn?
So I'm down to let Alex chime in after I say my piece, because I know he's been a really big believer of the character for months now. I know Ball. I think that the character is very good in certain spots. I think he's a bit of a like scalpel, in that like I'm not going to use it for every like surgery as a doctor, like every procedure, but like the ones that I'm using it for, it's doing all the work. So like that game, for example, in our game versus, what are they called? Bun Bun. We knew that after ban phase, they wanted to trade Era for Vice. So we wanted to pick Drek because it was a great start for Drek. And we knew that because Scyther likes playing like the squishier brawlers. Like he doesn't like playing X or Asher. And we think I like Drek into Finny, personally, brawler. I like that matchup. So we knew we could just pressure them and they wouldn't have any evades. I think Brawler's his best role, and I'm gonna start by I'll talk a little bit about Alex's pick, but then obviously if he has anything he wants to add, he can. I think that Drek midfield is a very flawed pick, but I've almost never seen a better Drek angle than when he picked it today, because Drek midfield struggles as a melee midfielder when there's lots of range and he gets bullied off of the ball, and there's someone that's able to match his strike shotgun. So when he's against Kazan, who has no way to bully him off the ball, like he can't be dash punched or anything by a Kazan, the Rune can't like do any chip damage back on him, because if Rune wants to win the interaction, he has to strike secondary, which doesn't do any damage to Drek. And then Alice can't do anything to Drek either. Like he just sits at a distance. Like Drek gets to run around the map and just ping pong all the time, which he likes. And then it's on a closed map, so he doesn't have to worry about passes. Um, so that's my take. I think the midfield pick is flawed. I think the brawler pick is flexible, and I think goalie is like pretty mid. But Alex, I was curious if you had anything you wanted to add.
I think that's a pretty good summary. I think just not having like a lot of damage on their part made it pretty comfortable too. I could play a little bit bad into damage and it wouldn't really matter that much. Atlas isn't just going to throw something halfway across the map and instantly kill me. It's kind of a nice feeling, because I'm going to be on top of that core whether I like it or not a lot of the time. And yeah, I do think Drek Brawler is definitely a more solid pick than the midfield, but I don't think Fiery got that Drek gene. I'll say it. I'll say it with my chest. He better give it up to me.
You know, I was almost excited because I almost thought we were going to see Fiery pick up the Mako in a NASL game, but apparently not. Up there
One
first.
day.
But all right, enough of that. Vaughn, I'm getting word that we have breaking news. There's been a trade occurring across rosters of the North American Strikers League. I assume I'm allowed to say it because I was pigged with it. But apparently, you have traded Bertram to Showtime to pick up Kainu and add him on your roster. Your thoughts to this week 5 trade?
We're making a lot of that's not the only roster change you're gonna see. We're moving a lot of people to the end of the season. Well, for various reasons. So we'll see if
Okay.
it comes up. Anyway, I mean that's about it. Like I don't have too much to say right now. I mean maybe in the future he'll be subbing in. We want to take this kind of like unproven like player, give him some like NASL time. See how far he can improve. So that's all I have to say for that for now. Like we're probably gonna be dropping a couple people, like gearing up for some stuff towards the end of the season. So I don't know, just stay tuned for now.
Can you be more vague for me, Vaughn?
Yeah. You might see him play, or maybe not.
Great. Oh, excellent. All right. Thanks so much for that clarification. Leo, enough of you sitting here in the corner. First of all, what is going on this picture that you're showing us right now?
All right, so RTF has a tradition now where whenever we get asked to interview, we spin this wheel. So if you did an interview already, then you don't get added. So I think Hungry did it last time, so he has 1 entry. Moffin skipped out, so he has an extra entry. And I've been dodging this. I've been dodging all these interviews. I have 4 entries now, but the nice people over at Bestie really wanted me for this interview. So I'm gonna keep my 4 entries in there, to respect my teammates. Right. Even though Hungry should have done it, Hungry should have done it, but it's all good. But yeah, it's just
the wheel for the interview for sure.
Yeah, I started back when we were doing weeklies and like other tournaments where we would just like spin the wheel with a bunch of options, like whether we play like Overcooked or we sit in our call Silento, or if I go and figure out if my Amazon driver delivered my package or not. Yeah, it's just a fun little game that we play on RTF whenever we have downtime or like can't make a decision.
Well, speaking of RTF, sounds like the vibes are up, and vibes got to be up in the standings right now, sitting at 3-2 after the first half of the season so far. How are you feeling right now in your current spot overall in the standings here?
Pretty good, but season's not over, and we still have a lot of work to do. I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that the Showtime game and the PPL game are really close, and we looked pretty strong. I just want to make sure that we keep up that image and we keep playing our best, because I think internally RTF was kind of struggling a little bit with our new midfielder, but I think right now we're like finding our groove. It like took a bit. It took a bit. It took a bit of interviewing, a bit of arguing, but I think we're at a good part of our season now. And hey, I mean, new patch might destroy everything or make everything good. Ooga booga. Who knows?
Who knows? Well, time will tell. Leo, I want to run through the rest of your season to see where you think you're feeling in terms of where those harder weeks might be. Who do you think is the hardest opponent you have remaining? Of course, right now, given my things are very close in the league, I think this could be a matchup thing. I don't think there's really a team that is at the highest level that's just going to dominate everybody. So your schedule remaining, RTF will play Bun Bun next week, Wee's Little Bees in week 7, EKC in week 8, and then we'll face Hungry Like Nephew in week 9. Who do you think is your strongest matchup remaining?
I don't know. See, this is where Hook would be really good. Wee's Little Bees has some crazy.
LeBron James is coming, bro. You're
yeah, I might be cooked. I might get hit with a X masterclass in 2 weeks. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I respect all the teams. I mean, Bun, Weeb, where my Hug at, EKC, like they're all really strong teams. I think I'm more worried between Hug and EKC, just because EKC, I mean, the guys have been playing together forever. They run a really solid kill comp. My fellow Jerseyan and XZD has been learning this midfield brawler mumbo jumbo shenanigans, has been murdering everybody. And where my Hug at?
Just be playing Julie, but all good.
Yeah, all good. I mean, he's making the pick look like fun. And I've been picking it up here and there sometimes, but that guy's a beast at it. But yeah, right. I'd say respect all my opponents. Definitely worried about EKC and Hug, but hey, I mean, we'll get there when we get there, right?
Absolutely. I have one more question left for the rest of this panel. All of you can answer, but I'll turn it back to Leo to start us off. We've been hyping up that this looks like it's the closest season that we've had so far. Of course, we say this every season because it's always the most interesting narrative to talk about, clearly. But the past 2 weeks have been all 2-0s. We have not seen a single game 3 in the past 2 weeks of play. So is this actually the closest season? Leo, I'll start with you.
I don't know, man. I saw a wheel of losers in one of the servers earlier, and that wheel of losers might be saying something. I don't know. It's like it's close, but yet it's not. It's like people have really good matchups into other teams, and sometimes you just don't perform. And that's okay. But I'd say it feels a lot closer. I mean, coming from like playing in like alpha and beta or whatever, like everyone got better like every month. Like every other month, people would start getting better, and that's still reigns true here. Where I think teams, especially in this current meta, like Vaughn mentioned, where a lot of more unique picks are coming up. I like seeing the identity of teams and identity of like pick bans happen a lot more, and it's successful. Like a team can get away with picking something a little unorthodox now because that's just how the patch is. And I think that's really fun. I think that's what makes the season feel as close as it does. The fact that we're not structured to like 2 or 3 variations of like one comp or one kind of meta. Like you can kind of run mostly whatever you want, so long as it has like a clear idea based on the starting awakenings or the map. But yeah, close, but hey, the rest of the season's still here. You never know. I'm waiting for the tiebreakers.
Might come down to tiebreakers. I don't think we've had a national season go to tiebreakers, but maybe that'll be the case this season. Average Alex, what do you think?
I think this is probably a result of the patch kind of aging a little bit. I think a lot of teams are a lot more comfortable with the patch than they were a couple weeks ago. I know for a fact, I'm speaking for myself here, we would occasionally just lose in draft to something we didn't know was a problem until it was too late. And I think that's causing some stability here, as you saw it with the 2-0s. I think people aren't getting surprised as much. I think people have a better idea of what they want to play in the patch. And I think that's starting to come through, and we're seeing which end result is ending up being the better meta read, I guess would be the way I look at it. But yeah, it could really go anyway. I'm not counting out anybody like Wee's Little Bees. They're 1-4. They could change that real quick. They really could.
Sure.
And you also got to keep in mind that some people have played in my opinion, some stronger teams already. So their record can only improve from here theoretically. So
we're looking at your team in particular, theoretically, right?
Already yeah, I mean, come on, who's saying that? Who's saying that?
Me, a bit ago on the cast.
Who said that? It's, not me.
Okay,
I don't know what you're talking about. I would never undermine my opponents like that.
Right.
Of course not. But if I was, I wouldn't tell you.
Right. Vaughn, where are your thoughts here?
Kenneth, you got to repeat the question for me. Sorry, about the season.
Is it the closest season, despite the fact that we've got a bunch of 2-0s?
Oh, yeah. I think a kind of something that I've discussed with some people that feels echoed is that I think the level of play week to week seems less. Like I think there's a lot more mistakes happening. I think you could attribute that to a lot of different things, but I think it feels like the overall execution of games on average is lower, but maybe that's skewed because of anything from the characters being picked or punished harder. Or it could be like people just aren't scrimming or practicing as much. Or it could be 50,000 people last season stopped playing and teams are adjusting to that. Or there's a bunch of different reasons, right? But I do think that I've enjoyed watching every week because it feels like I'm not sure who's going to win when they play each other. And that's not always been the case. I feel like in NASL 5, I watched almost any week, and I feel like there were a couple teams I'm like, yep, they're always going to win. Like, that's just mentally checked that off in my head. Same thing with NASL 4. I think the last 2 seasons, I kind of got, it's a bit hackneyed, but I was like, this is the closest season ever. Yeah, guys, like season 5 wasn't the Showtime fucking, or sorry, that was my one. Season 5 like wasn't Showtime City, right? Like, come on now. So I think that I have gone into every week thinking that I could lose. And I have not felt like that every season. As someone who's been a NASL starter with Leo since the beginning, actually, there are seasons where I do not feel that way. And this is a season that I do feel that way. I think that every team has the chance to beat my team, and we are 4-1, but a couple sets go differently, and we're 1-4. So I think it's very competitive. I've enjoyed all the debuts from players this season. Looking forward to seeing more games. So I'm happy with the product. I think it's a fun season for sure.
Definitely a fun season. Definitely the reason why everyone should continue tuning in as we ramp up towards the postseason. That's all I've got for my questions, but we'll go down the line. If you want to give any shout outs to anyone that may or may not be watching, you're more than welcome to here. Average Alex, I'll start with you.
I'm gonna shout out Hungry Boy. We're gonna start the chain. We go back and forth. He helps our team every now and then whenever we're scratching our heads because we're not an extremely outspoken team. And he's like, "No, I think that's terrible." That's not exactly how he says it, but I'm keeping it PG, and we appreciate that. So we couldn't have done it without him. So thank you, Hungry Boy. That is all.
Okay. Leo.
I like PPL.
Me
All
too.
right.
That's it. All the shout outs we've got. All right, cool. Vaughn, anybody?
Yeah. On my hashtag joybaiting arc, there's no about joybaiting. I'm going to shout out Average Alex on the desk. I said this about once a week. I do like streams where I review NASL and NASA stuff, and I go over like concepts or meta or all that jazz. And one of the things that I did was like a fun like, oh, it's middle of the season. Let's talk about who we would vote for our like all pro votes. And I think I would put Alex as one of my 3 midfielders. I think this guy is playing like a beast, and he's a big reason for his team's success this season. And that's really cool because I think he's improved a lot. Joy baited. And then I also want to shout out Leo because I told him this yesterday, like in person. But I think a lot of RTF's success was him buckling down and putting like a lot of time in, like more than most people would want to. Because I know firsthand how difficult it is to try to work out things that don't feel like they're clicking on a team, and it takes a lot of effort and time. And this guy's looking like the best performing brawler in the league right now, and RTF is the team I'm most scared of playing this season. So hashtag joybaited. So
Hashtag
those are my
joybaited.
shout outs.
Can't
And then
wait till
shout out
week
to
9 for
Kenneth.
that match.
Yeah, shout out to Kenneth Bottom 273 for hosting the post show because I miss him. So just good vibes all around. And then shout out my team. Our experiment is bearing fruit. I would not have bet going into the season, and the standings were here to see us here. So I'd like to shout out my teammates. Good job, guys. Just a lot of joy baiting all around. Positive vibes. That's all.
Positive vibes to send off the day today, folks. That'll do it for our show. Be sure to tune in next week, of course, for week 6 of the North American Strikers League. But of course, we've got both NASA and NAST matches happening tomorrow. You can catch those matches aired live tomorrow, same time, same place, right here on Bestie in Slot. Don't forget to check out the merch that I forgot to shout out last week, but I'm not forgetting to shout out this week. Exclamation point shop. I don't know what I was just trying to say, but that'll do it for us here tonight. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will see you all around.